Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, first office hours, Mr. Paul Silver, welcome. And bedtime experience? Hey, welcome to the Booth Buddies, my friend. Let me check here in case there were any pre-written questions, and we'll just hang out until folks show up. We'll see. I don't know where these. Is this supposed to pop up here? Is that Wendy? No, don't ban viewer. I have forgotten how to do all of this. Let's see. This thing is confusing. Anyway, welcome everybody. Hope you've had a good week so far. Happy Wednesday. I can't believe it's already May. This stuff is great. Time. But for those of us still, I don't know what I'm saying. But if you got questions, toss them in. And if you got wins, toss them in. Jim, welcome. But yeah, fire away, my friends. I'm trying to see if I can get the YouTube page up, but I've got a lot of stuff here for us. Let me see if there were any prefab questions. No questions in beforehand. Killer. Wendy, good to see you. It's so funny. I'm doing this in a separate streaming thing called Ecamm Live. It's what I record all my videos on, but the chat thing on the YouTubes is still saying preparing stream. Very interesting. I'm not a streamer. I'm not a professional streamer. But how is everybody? Where's everybody coming in from? We got 9 folks here. I've had a good week so far. Recorded an audiobook. Been working on the ever ongoing coaching courses that seem to always be on the burner. But I set a deadline for myself. We're going to send out the first rounds of all that stuff this summer at some point. So looking forward to it. Hey, there it is. Okay. I figured it out. Something that somebody asked on the last stream, the last office hours, was they were talking about breath and voice stuff. And so maybe I'll talk about a little bit of that and go through some things that I use for that type of a thing. Wendy, I don't know if you asked me this or somebody else. It's a great question, though, so it bears repeating. Social media, it's not terribly vital. And it's kind of the kind of thing. I haven't done social media outside of YouTube really for my whole business in the whole time. I'm trying to ramp it up because I figure I might as well give it a shot, but it's not the most important thing. The two places where social media is, or the two things that social media is helpful with, is if it's just like a marketing presence and you enjoy it, that's a great place to do it, but you don't need hundreds of thousands of followers. Does it hurt? No, but I've always approached it with, I don't want to talk about myself very much. So that's the way that I don't need these on, but I like having them on. It's toasty, whatever. So yeah, social media presence, not totally necessary, but if you want to do it, do it. And like for me, this YouTube thing has been helpful. I've gotten a lot of audiobooks through people just finding my YouTube channel, either for authors being like, hey, I was trying to narrate my own book and found you on YouTube. And so that kind of flows naturally. It also, but I enjoy doing this YouTube stuff because I like helping people and paying it forward. I had a lot of awesome teachers that were around to help me and very generous with their time. A lot of really generous colleagues. So that's kind of why this is here in general, this channel. But like, Instagram, TikTok, I just haven't found the energy for it, partly because, I don't know. But in terms of like a website's really nice to have it as a kind of like a living resume, a place where people can go see that that you're not just somebody out there who bought a microphone on a whim, that you're somebody who's actually invested in the business, in their business, gives an air of professionalism. So that kind of stuff can be really, really valuable, just as like a reference point for folks. Same thing with the social media stuff, but it's not super necessary or vital. You don't need it. A lot of my super successful friends and colleagues don't have social media presences hardly at all. But they also do a fair amount of like direct marketing and stuff like that, meaning they'll like be emailing people and they find great success there. Tasmania, Tim, just Tim. Well, thank you very much for the animated and warm caramely voice. It pays the bills, as they say. Some ways to put out voiceover work. Well, Quiver, are you planning on putting stuff? Let me see if I can figure out how to put this stuff on the stream. I feel like I remember how to put the comments on the, oh, there it is. I found it. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Is this it? No. Quiver, while I'm trying to figure this out, was there something specifically that you are interested in terms of putting your work out or voiceover work that you've done in the past? That may help me to point you in a more specific direction rather than just shotgunning everything everywhere, if that makes sense. Let me see if I can figure this out too. I used to be able to do this, and I don't remember how. Oh, well. But some ways that you can get your voice out there are a lot of different websites that have like, oh yeah, Mandy is not a great site. I wish it was better. They feel like a really good, what's it called? Oh, that's how I do it. I have to click the button. I figured it out. There are a lot of different websites you can do. So for audiobooks specifically, ACX is a great resource. It's a public access, self-publishing audiobook platform where people will post audiobooks, typically independent authors, but sometimes smaller publishing houses will post there. And you can get started in audiobooks there. I personally love audiobooks as a training ground specifically because in the beginning stages, the barrier to entry is really, really low. The quality tolerance is pretty high. There are like specifications that you have to hit to have the audiobook published, but those are easier to hit than a lot of people may believe. So by putting stuff, you can audition on ACX, you can put stuff out on ACX, and because you have to learn the whole process, you get familiar with the whole VoiceOver workflow, which transposes to any discipline that you want. So I think that that's a really great place to start if you're interested in audiobooks. If you're not interested in audiobooks, you can look at a bunch of different pay-to-play websites. The ones that I recommend for beginners, Upwork was an okay place for me to start. I haven't been on there in years, so I don't know how much the landscape has changed. Fiverr's challenging, but it really relies on, the market there is really, really saturated, and it relies pretty heavily on, what's it called? Like social media skills. You got to have really good thumbnails. You got to, it was tough for me. I wasn't a big fan of Fiverr for those reasons. But again, I know people who are really, really successful there. And then voices.com is another great place to kind of cut your teeth and get access to auditions, put stuff out there. The last would be kind of like direct marketing, I guess. So, hopefully that helps. Wendy's got another question. Is it better to just have a couple of really good samples on your ACX or several passable? Honestly, I don't know specifically to ACX. The only things that you'll need, whether on your website or on ACX specifically, with audiobooks specifically, are a couple different samples. One, they'll want one that showcases your character performance skills. So if you are a mask narrator, they'll want to hear how you'll handle femme characters and vice versa. So you want to find a scene that has both male and female characters in it to perform. You'll want at least one of those. And then they'll also want or it's helpful to have a nonfiction sample so that they can hear how you'll handle like technical aspects, as well as, what's it called? Narration. Nonfiction narration is kind of helpful because it's really intensive, showing how you can present information in an engaging way. So basically, I'm taking the most boring stuff possible and making it sound good and listenable. The other thing would be if in narration moments. So if you're having to shift between dialogue and narration, or just the narration in general, how you embody it and perform it overall. So as long as you've got those two samples, anything beyond that is great. And with audiobook samples in general, the best thing to look out for or to try to do with them, I should make a video on this actually, is you want there to be between 2 to 3 minutes typically, and you want it to have a narrative arc, kind of, meaning you want it to have a sort of beginning, climax, and some sort of resolution or cliffhanger so that they can see sort of a mini story, mini narrative that you're crafting. That doesn't mean that it has to be like a traditional hero's journey story in 2 minutes. As long as there's some like setting up moment that leads to some sort of action or tension or climax that then has a resolution or cliffhanger. Just any sort of exciting scene. You can think of it as like, if I were to take a trailer of a book as an example, or a trailer of a movie rather, what would I want that trailer to show? And rather than it being like a, montage or collage of a bunch of different sequences with that boom sound going through the whole thing, if you were to just pull a scene from that movie as a whole, what would be a good scene? And the final thing I'll say about audiobook demos is you want to, as best you can, avoid like super famous books. So no Harry Potter samples, no samples of stuff like that. You want to avoid super famous books that have super famous narrators and performances. The Harry Potter audiobooks are among the most famous, so don't do something like that. Ta-da! Ultimately, it's just what you want to do and what you want out there, I guess, though. And I guess with ACX specifically, I'm going on and on, but I like this question. With ACX specifically, I don't know how many samples. I think on that platform, it would be if an author's like, hey, I'm doing a fantasy novel. I need this type of a narrator with this accent. If your sample is tagged in that way, then they may find that specific demo or sample. But otherwise, put whatever you want on there, I think. Miss Bruingal. How best to reach out to publishers directly? Great question. So there are a number of ways. One, ahabtalent.com is Penguin Random House's open casting forum. A lot of their producers will post casting things there for anybody. So I would recommend to everyone to make a profile there and update it on an annual or semi-annual basis with new demos, new projects. If you win awards, put them on there. All really, really helpful. And they tend to put really specific castings on there more generally. So if they're looking for, sometimes you'll see, hey, one I auditioned for recently that was a bit of a stretch, but I wanted to toss my hat in the ring, was like, hey, we're casting somebody to perform an audiobook where there's a person on a really specific, Danish island in the middle of that ocean where the dialect is super specific. And sometimes they'll ask for that. Sometimes they're asking for really specific demographics. We need an Asian American who has facility with, languages of these specific regions or something like that. So sometimes they'll put really specific stuff, but by and large, they'll also be casting through there. So they'll be pulling samples and all that stuff. So for Penguin, ahabtalent.com. For a lot of other publishers, they'll either have narrator submission portals on their websites that can be kind of hard to find. Usually they're under careers or contact us, something like that. So that's one avenue that you can go through, just hunt those websites, see that. Or the APA, the Audio Publishers Association, they're the association that hosts the Audis, the audiobook Oscars every year. If you join them, which I recommend if you're an aspiring audiobook narrator that you do, they have essentially a directory, and you can see what are the publishers that you want to work with, what kind of contact information is there, and just on a quarterly basis, once every 3 to 4 months, maybe once every 6 months, just reach out to producers from the different publishers that you're interested in working with, and even ones that you are, Podium's great. I love Podium. Just get into the habit of pinging them, and all of the publishers and producers that I've worked with, love working with audiobook narrators. And if you reach out to them, it's easy to feel I don't want to be, annoying. I don't want to be blah, blah, blah. You're not. You're helping them do their job by saying, hey, I have availability. I would love to work with you if the right job comes along. Here's my website and here's a sample, that kind of thing. They appreciate it. So, don't be shy about reaching out, and just do your best to keep the emails really brief. They don't need to know your life story. If they need to know more about you, they'll get in touch. They'll go to your website, blah, blah, blah. Some of my colleagues and friends will also set up newsletters. I would do that once you have an established relationship with them, not as a first point of contact. But yeah, that would be the way to go about it, just once every few months. Let's see. Great question about audiobook auditions. Usually, at least for auditions from publishers, for example, those will be to a set length. So you'll do the whole audition, and those will usually range from 3 to 5 minutes on average. And sometimes they might be a bit longer. But from a publisher, they'll keep it short and you'll want to read the whole script that's provided. Or they'll let you know, hey, this whole script is provided for context, meaning we're giving you more than you need in order for you to understand the story a bit better, get a better picture of the full book and the story and the characters. So in those cases, you may not need to read the whole thing. Sometimes on ACX, authors or rights holders will post like the whole book in the audition section. In those cases, just read a couple minutes of it. And usually I'll say like, hey, if you want me to read more, if you want to hear more for context or adjustments, just let me know. But 30 to 60 seconds for an audiobook audition would be a bit short. Let me know if that answers your question, my friend. A question here. That's an easy question. So far, the idea is to do a once monthly office hours. But if we have enough interest in them, if they become pertinent, maybe I'll do more. I do have plans to do like webinars via my website. So I'm going to set up like a portal there that people can come to rather than on YouTube. I may do both, who knows? But really we're just kind of testing the water as we say. This question, interesting. I am not familiar with Casting Call Club website. Let's take a look. Casting Call Club. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this website. So I'm hesitant to offer any thoughts upon it. But to your question specifically, when they say the part pays $10, 2 lines or 10 pages, with that kind of thing, $10 may be okay to start with. But in terms of setting rates and stuff like that, again, I'm not familiar with this website and what their sort of market rates are. But the website that I use to set my rates from is the GVAA, the Global Voice Acting Academy Rate Guide. They are, goodness gracious. The GVAA Rate Guide, it gives you a good breakdown. It's more so a template to start with and gauge from, but it's not like a set rule, for example. If somebody was saying 2 lines to 10 pages, it would be up to your comfort, honestly, for a website like that. Don't be afraid about saying like, hey, listen, for 10 pages, my typical rate would be X, and set it that way. There are a few things that you could do to dictate those rates, I guess. One could be word count with a set minimum. I pretty much across the board will dictate a set minimum, whether it's studio time, recorded hours, or stuff like that, just so that I have a safeguard and I don't feel like my time is being abused in that way. But don't be afraid to put a set minimum. Yeah, but if they come to you and you're like, hey, I'm happy to do 2 lines for $10, and then they say, we've actually got these extra pages, feel free to push back. Again, I don't know how Casting Call Club works, but yeah, feel free to say stuff like, oh, listen, happy to do those for you. My rate would be additional from this stuff. Let's see, what do we got? Hi, Sonia. So glad that the coaching was helpful for you, my friend. Okay. Thanks for that breakdown on the Casting Call website, Casting Call Club. Looks cool. I'll have to give it a peek more so to see what we see. Paul, let's see. Demo, how many clips, how long should they be roughly? We just talked a bit about audiobook demos, so let me know if there's something specifically that you have in mind. But usually an audiobook demo, they'll be discrete, so it'll be a single sample from a single book. You won't want to collage or smash a bunch together necessarily, unless the publisher requests that for some reason. So like if you're submitting to Audible to be considered as a rostered narrator or something like that, if they want just one MP3 rather than a couple samples, usually 2 minutes is what you're looking for in terms of these single things. So if you were to be combining two separate samples into one MP3, it'd be 2 minutes, then maybe a 1 to 2 second break, and then you'd start your second sample. And that would be the way that I would handle it. But usually it's 2 to 3 minutes each, and they're all just listed individually. You could go to my website. I've got a whole slew of them there. Happy Wednesday, my friend. Glad you could make it as well. Yeah, if there's interest for some of the questions, if there's interest for more of these things, these streamages, man, I just went for a run, and post-shower, my hair is just a floofy little guy. But if there's interest for more of these live streams for whatever reason, just let me know. Well, hello there, Davey. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's interesting with the YouTube at tags. They're all different. Man, this is so bizarre. The stream that I've got over here to watch the chat is like several minutes behind where I am currently. It's very funny. I don't know if that's true. Anyway. Oh boy, what am I trying to say? I did leave New York. We moved at the end of December, and I'm currently in Portland, Oregon, back home, back west, and couldn't be happier. Well, maybe I could. I don't know. I'm doing well though. We're doing good. Yeah, Wendy, I think we'll set up a workshop. That'll probably be through my website, but I'll definitely make sure to post stuff about it. I'm also excited because, like I said, finally, I'm getting my butt in gear and releasing the courses that I've promised. And right when I was getting ready to gear up, a company reached out to me. They develop apps that a lot of really prominent folks use. So I'm looking forward to noodling that stuff out, seeing how it goes. Yeah, but we'll definitely be cooking on that and workshops and stuff. Maybe we'll do like, I've got too many ideas. Yes, my friend, the view, it's improved quite a lot. I actually, I've taken to keeping I just got these at a estate sale recently, and I keep them here in case a bird comes by. But you hit your 30s and you got to get some binocs and check out them birds out the window there. Oh, Paul, you're too sweet. You're too kind there. But like the stream. What else? Also, because I'm not a streamer and I don't know what this looks like on the back end, I don't know how the ads work here. So if you guys are getting ads in the middle of this, let me know, because I don't know how to turn it on or off. But there are these big old buttons that add stream marker. There's so many buttons. Technology, man. Technology. Anywho, what I was saying at the beginning of this stream, I need to remember to do more vocal stuff. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. But that was one of the things that I was excited about. The company that approached me about developing an app type thing. It's really just a course website thing that they help to structure everything and make it so it's more interactive. But I've been working on like a full vocal training regimen for that kind of thing. So cool. Okay. Good to know that the ads are still here. I don't know how that works, so I'll look into it. And I'm sorry if you're getting too many ads. Oh man, Wendy, I can't wait. My wife and I have been looking at houses, and one of the prerequisites is it's gotta have some garden space for a Hummer feeder. But my mom's back porch, one of the great benefits of being back on the West Coast. Yeah. No worries, Paul. We're here, and we're here to answer any and all questions. So if we answer them multiple times, it just means it's a good question. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good idea. The live stream for books. I was considering doing something like that. That was actually one of the streams I was planning on doing, because I do those Reading for Good series, which are all public domain books. I just haven't had time lately, but I was hoping to do a like week's end, as in like on Fridays, do like a long form recording session for those, and then I would cut them all together for a big Reading for Good supercut kind of thing. Could be fun. But yeah, we'll see. But I would love to try the whole TikToks and all that jazz as well. I don't know that I would love it. We'll see. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe we'll try it someday. Hey, everybody that's here, make sure that we got some wins coming in, because we got to know how was everybody's month? Did everybody have a good month? I hope so. Mine was pretty good. I'm back to running a ton. I went for like the longest run that I've been able to in like a year. It was awesome. Missed it a lot. I've been recovering from an injury for a long time. Felt really good. A great question from Paul. So when I'm working on audiobooks, do I work with one at a time, or do I do different books depending on what I'm connecting to? My recording schedule is so busy and full, fortunately, and it's a double-edged sword, but my recording schedule is pretty darn full. So usually it's just like whatever's next in the pipeline is what I work on. So I don't really have the luxury of picking and choosing what I connect on. Though there are times when I will set aside for like, hey, I'm going to spend some time working on this book that I'm particularly interested in or has these particular challenges. So those kind of things can be fun, but usually it's just, I'm recording this one next week. That's what we're working on. Wish it was a more exciting answer, but I have a lot of books in the pipeline at any given time. Yeah. I don't know what I would work on if I think that's where my reading for good thing is going to be coming in to play, because I'm getting excited to be working on those more and more. Specifically, I'm excited to do, I want to do Dracula because I haven't read Dracula. I have aspirations to do Moby Dick, which would be a journey. And then Crime and Punishment. The thing that's tough is I spend, because all of those books have to be public domain, I'm kind of locked into, public domain books, which are a very specific demographic, if you catch my drift. So, such is life. All right, we got a couple wins. 2 books published. That's what I'm talking about. Working on 4 more. Let's rock. And yeah, imposter syndrome, it's always there. I may have told this story before, but NYU, the MFA program I went to, there's like big wigs that came out of that program. So Mahershala Ali, he came in and spoke to us one time, and he was like, yeah, guys, it's always back to square one at the end of the day. Project ends and you're back to square one. To be fair, I don't know that that's imposter syndrome, but it's like, okay, if 2-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali feels that as well, it's the world, man. The world. Such is life. Wendy. Oh, that's a bummer. I don't know how those work with the payouts and stuff with royalty share, but hey, take the win when you can get it. That's great that you're selling more, because that's got to turn over into something positive at some point, I would imagine. So I think that that's exciting in spite of the lack of payout, but glad to hear that. Do I do more commercial or audiobooks? Yeah, I do a fair share of both. It's kind of audiobooks are so time intensive, right? So they take weeks to put together at times, days at best, weeks at worst. And so, yeah, audiobooks take up the bulk of my time. Commercials audiobooks are probably the bulk of my time and the bulk of my revenue, just because I do so many of them. But commercials pay really well. So I spend the most of my time auditioning for commercials, and most audiobooks that I get at this stage are direct requests from publishers or authors where they just come to me and want me to work on them, which is nice, but, ta-da. Paul, yes, you can make requests. I don't know where. Maybe I'll put a poll up when I have time. But yeah, request away. Always love new ideas. Advice on warming up. Absolutely. So the way that I've approached, so when I was in school, warming up was really, really important because we were working every day and pretty consistently. And now I just kind of use different aspects of my work for warming up. So really it's just kind of like listen to your body. What does it need in this given day? And part of that for me is I've spent years training how to do this stuff, right? So I kind of know what my body needs specifically. If it needs a little bit of muscular massage, what kind of a massage is there otherwise? But do I need to loosen up the muscles? Do I need to check in with my breath? How do I want to handle that? And I kind of approach warming up to the areas where I feel maybe a little out of sync. Maybe I could just tune it up. But the biggest things that I focus on, usually I'll start with some kind of massage or stretch, focusing on like the jaw muscles, either here or in the temples. under the jaw here where the tongue is. I'll focus on that a little bit. Then do some over articulation and stuff like that. And then breath stuff is really important. There are a ton of exercises for breath, but doing a meditation type thing. The thing with meditation, critically, I was working with a coaching student recently, and we realized that their meditation technique was it's a popular meditation technique, but it's the breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. So it's the square breathing method. That's fine for meditation, but for performance and acting breath and the flow of breath, the holds are really, really problematic because they operate on a control basis, which is great for meditation because you're exercising control of your breath, getting in tune with your body. That's a great method to just bring things in check. But for performance, we want to kind of live on the edge a little bit, particularly with breath. So if we want the breath to be in constant flow, constant motion, because if we hold, everything just kind of dies and halts. So breath is really, really valuable in that respect specifically. So with breath, don't do holding things and check in with that. But usually I'll just and sigh a couple times to loosen stuff up. Call it a day. Let's check in with more of these other questions. Have I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? No, I have not. I've listened to the Atomic Habits, I think it is. I listened to the audiobook of that for a bit. I've been coming around, no shame on people who want to like focus on that kind of stuff, who are productivity minded. I tend to be an organized dude in general, and I get anxious if I'm not organized. So there's that neuroses going on for me. But the productivity stuff, more and more, I've just kind of been coming full circle where I'm like, guys, we're all going to get there eventually. We're all going to get to the place where we're going. And, you know, on the end, we're all going to die. And so I'm like, you know, productivity, just take a deep breath, get where you're going. We don't need to do everything, particularly now with AI making everybody feel like they've got to do everything all at once, all the time, and crank it out, monetize. Yeah, blah, blah. Anyway, not to say that this is to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I like all that stuff. Anyway, I went on a tangent there. Sorry, mate. I don't know if, oh man. But I do like all that stuff. I do like being mindful about things. I find myself pulling away from like, the product based stuff. I got to do it all, got to get it out the door and things like that. How do I go about preparing for audiobooks? First, I read them. Bam. I also have started using, 2 things. One, I used to use Positron. They have great script prep tools that I used for a while. Really, really helpful stuff. It automatically scans your manuscript. I think it can highlight stuff for you if you want. It will also automatically scan your manuscript for potential words that you want to check the pronunciation on. It will automatically propagate pronunciation links and definitions for those that are both like dictionary based and primary source based, meaning somebody will actually be saying the word, not like an AI voice, but it's an actual human being. Really, really valuable. And it gives you character breakdowns, character lists. So I've used that in the past, really, really valuable. I've also started to use Notion for the same reasons, but just tracking on my own rather than using Positron. So as I read the book, I'll just like have that open on the side, punching words that I need to check in there. I've got it so it automatically propagates pronunciation links, same as Positron, keeping character lists. But generally, I'll just do sort of like the way that I read an audiobook that I'm prepping for performance is different than the way that I'll read a book for pleasure. But reading an audiobook manuscript for performance preparation, basically I'm just lining it up for anything that I'll need to help me in the performance of the book and getting just kind of a download of the arc of the story. Part of that is because I'm just so crunched for time generally. I've got a lot of projects that I have to juggle, and I don't really have the time to read it at a pace that I would necessarily, take the time, read it really slowly, pleasurably. I just kind of have to get the main beats down. So I still read everything, but, But in marking up the manuscript, I tend to leave it pretty blank in general, with the exception of my notes to the side with the word pronunciations and things like that. I will occasionally highlight dialogue if it's a scene where there are a lot of characters. Sometimes an ensemble book will come along where there's like 6 characters talking to each other in a scene. And in those instances, I find it helpful to highlight who's speaking when, so I don't have to do the mental gymnastics of, oh, here's this person's voice. Now, who's this one? I can just see the color. Blue is this person, red is this person, green is this person, and just jump from character to character quickly. So that's what I'll do to prep for audiobooks more generally. I do have a course coming up that will be talking through that whole process as well. So if that's of interest, keep your eye out for that. Oh, this is a 2-parter from Paul. Let me see. Yeah, we'll take this one first. Working on expanding my character voices using the technique from past videos. Woo! The sliders. But you get nervous that some characters from different books are not in the same book. Some characters sound the same across different books. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fine. The thing about different characters across books, as long as it's not like if you're doing a series and characters sound the same, but they're different characters. So if there's, David and Derek, and David sounds like this, and Derek sounds like this, and they're in the same series, then you're probably going to run into trouble. But if they're 2 completely separate books, if the characters are like the same archetype, then fine. The key here is that the sound of the character is superficial. There's no real depth to the way the character sounds, but their behavior and the way they interact with other characters in the world, that's the key. And that's what'll make all of your characters kaleidoscopic and really different from each other. Because if our good buddies, David and Derek, if they both talk like this, but David's kind of a shy guy and he doesn't really, and Derek's just kind of a bustling dude who runs into then they're going to be different because they have different energies and different ways of interacting with the world. And that's the thing to focus on rather than just the way that they sound. Because the way that they sound is, again, superficial. Do I use positron to prep duet or only solo or dual? I have only used it for solo projects. For dual projects, I usually use other methods because I don't want the other narrator to should probably use it for duets, but usually when I'm coordinating with other narrators on dual narrations, the other narrator has their own specific methods and workthroughs, so we're kind of combining things across systems. So using positron in those instances, it's just rare in my experience. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And then duet, most of the duets that I've done have been prepped by, the meaningful aspects of them have been prepped by the publishers or the author themselves. So in those instances, I'm not doing the highlighting of the script or the notating of who's speaking when. For those of you who don't know the difference between a dual and duet narration, dual is chapter 1 is narrated by this character, chapter 2 is narrated by the other character, and narrators will trade off who narrates which chapter. Duet is the same thing, main character POVs swap, but characters within those chapters will be voiced by the narrators who portray those characters. So if I'm doing chapter 1 and my romantic interest is in that chapter, the narrator performing my romantic interest will perform all of that character's dialogue, if that makes sense. And in those instances, more often than not, somebody else has highlighted the script. So in those cases, I'm not using positron, but just sharing like quick character samples with the other narrator as needed. If that answers the question. Dun 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 dun. Isotope Velvet from Isotope. Do I have that? I think I may have tried it. Let me see. Whoops. I have not used it. Looks good though. Yeah. I can't say for sure that I've, yeah, Damien. If you're on the hook, we'll just finish this question first. If you're on the hook for prep, just coordinate with your other narrator. And if you want to use positron and share that as a resource with them, you'll probably get brownie points, but, yeah, could be helpful. All right. Velvet, I don't know that Velvet will help with mouth clicks. It looks like it's going to be an EQ to help with like room resonance or like de-essing mic type stuff. I don't see, based off of looking at it, that it's going to help you with mouth clicks. The thing that I would use for mouth clicks would be Isotope RX. It's worth the money. So even though it's a little bit pricier, Isotope RX is the way to go. I use it on everything. And the Essentials, which costs $100, will get the job done. The Standard, in my opinion, even though it's pricey at like $400, if you're doing this professionally, it's worth the investment. The tools have saved my bacon many, many times. So Isotope RX would be what you're looking for, my friend. Bum, 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 bum. How much time do I spend per produced hour, including prep and reading? It's a good question, and I don't really know. Using an example of an audiobook that I'm doing for Penguin, I'm actually going in to record it tomorrow. The reading of it was a short story that was maybe like, I want to say 40 pages. So reading that, I read books that I'm prepping relatively quickly. So the prep for that was probably an hour or so. it was a fairly straightforward story in terms of the prep involved. That doesn't hold bearing on the quality of the story or the depth of the work. It just means that like a book that's really research heavy will have a lot of like obscure names, really technical jargon, a lot of odd pronunciations. This story didn't have a ton of that, so it was pretty easy for me to prep. There were maybe like 6 words that I pulled to check pronunciation. Additionally, not a lot of dialogue, no dialects to worry about. So the prep for it was really, really quick. So that was about an hour to an hour and a half total, including reading. And then to record that, usually for recording, I'm just over 1-to-1 most of the time. So if I'm having to record, say, 40 minutes of material, it'll probably take me like 50 minutes to record, give or take, I think. If I'm on the hook for editing is probably another. So if I had to break it down, it'd probably be, all things considered, 3 hours to every 1 hour if I'm on the hook for prep, recording, and engineering. If I'm just prep and recording, it's probably closer to like 1 3/4 to 2 hours to 1. I could be totally wrong and guessing, but that's about where it goes. So if that helps. But I will say critically to this question, when I was starting out, I was really, really worried about 2 things. One, that I was taking way too long to do stuff and that made me an amateur. And 2, that the number of pickups that I was having in my work made me an amateur as well. If I had like, 20 pickups for an hour of material or whatever it was, sometimes I'd freak out and think that everybody thought that I was terrible. It's part of the job. You want to minimize pickups if you can, but if they happen, it's part of the job. So don't worry about that kind of thing. There's no like industry standard if you're moving too slowly. Faster is better, slow is fine, yada, yada, yada. You're nervous, Mojo, about narrating a book with characters. What specifically are you nervous about, if I may ask? Because there are a couple of things that can help, but I don't know exactly what you're nervous about, my friend, and that may help me to guide some of the things. Oh my gosh, yeah. This happens all the time. Yeah. I feel it. But to be nervous about narrating a book with characters, the things that help me are, well, I guess it's not really fair because I just straight up enjoy doing that. So if you're nervous about it, we may be coming at it from different angles. But man, my brain is just going like, if you're nervous about narrating a book with characters, one, just trying to reformat. There's no right way to do it. Just having fun, understanding the vibe of each character. Awesome. The thing that's great about narrating characters and fiction books in general is that's not all on you, which is liberating. The book itself carries a lot of the onus, because if the book, you're just sitting there reading the book, or somebody just reading it without any, emoting or anything is gonna understand the characters if the book is worth its, if it's done its work. So you can take heart in that the author's done the work for you to a degree, hopefully, and that the characters are on the page. Anything you do beyond that is just, the cherry on top, is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is if you're understanding the vibe of the characters, part of it is your interpretation of the thing. So there is a bit of you needing to match what the book has there on the page, but you also get to interpret things. And you were cast for the book, so you are the right person for the story, for the telling of the story, because you got cast for it. So you can kind of kick that anxiety to the curb in that respect as well. But actionable stuff that can help you to understand the vibe. Looking at how they behave person to person is really, really valuable. You don't have to fully embody the character. Nobody's under any delusions that you're not just one person doing the whole thing. So if you're anxious about like, oh, I've got to make this character sound completely different from the others, that's not entirely true. So you can release that as well. Let me know if this is all helpful for you as well, because I'm kind of just spitballing stuff. A children's book. I don't know that it would necessarily be better to do a children's book, but those can be quite liberating because you can go quite far with the characters. For example, like Winnie the Pooh characters, they're so distinct and rooted in the dialogue specifically. The characters aren't given really wordy or flowery descriptions that you might find in like fiction literature novel. The characters are just there, and the way that they behave with each other is really the way that we understand who these characters are. We know Piglet is bye Wendy. We know Piglet is a little scaredy cat because of the way that they interact with the world and the other characters. We know that Pooh has a big heart and just kind of tumbles through life willy-nilly with this boundless curiosity. And so in terms of matching the characters or understanding the vibe, you can lead with that kind of a thing rather than having to feel pressured that you're going to get it right. If that helps iron things out and give you some kind of North Star on all that, I hope. But let me know if I can clarify anything more, if you have more questions on that front. Because it's definitely something. Oh my God, there's a gator emoji. Cool. Check that out. See you later, gator. Sweet. Yes. Klingon is Klingon's a challenge. But even that, you wouldn't necessarily be obligated to like, well, maybe you would, I don't know, but go easy on yourself, approach it with grace, and just lead with fun and embodying the characters. In my opinion, the messier things are, the better, it's, I mean, to an extent, the messiness of things. That's the reason why human narrators are always, in my opinion, going to beat out AI and stuff like that, because AI is so sanitized and just clean, whereas we've got all the beautiful imperfections that make us human, and that's the great stuff. Yeah. Pickups, it ranges. Some books, I have a ton. Some books, I have hardly any at all. It really depends for me on the material. I'm answering Damien. But yeah, no shame in pickups. None of that stuff. They're part of the gig, and totally fine to have a few accidents here and there. I believe my cat wants in. I don't know if she'll come in. The original booth buddy for all of us. Let me see some more wins for those of us who are hanging out right now. If you had a good win this month, something that you're proud of, voiceover audiobook related or not, life related. I was saying earlier, I'm back to running more. Went for the longest run I have in a long time, I think a week ago. Felt great. So good. Taking more time to myself. I'm working on some projects just for me, which feels pretty fun. Enjoying this beautiful weather. Look at this. Look at that. Look at those trees and clouds out there. All right. Paul's got some suggestions for the next Mojo, the new booth. Congrats. That's what I'm talking about. Phantom of the Opera and Three Musketeers, Paul. All right. I'll put them on the list. What? First car? Congrats. We had to, because we just moved from New York back to, what is it? Portland. See, this is what I'm saying. My brain isn't working right. I can't remember where I currently live. But because we moved back here, we had to get a car for the first time in 10 years after New York City. It's weird. It's liberating. 2 books, Damien. Congrats. The new booth to be delivered. Excellent. Let me know how that new booth works for you. That's very exciting. And congrats on the 2 books. I should probably talk about some of those books. I had a few books come out this month as well. Let me remind myself here. Space Ranger was a very fun one, like a space opera. My Name Was Jerry Sass, a very cool one as well. And then Cowboys Game, which was a sweet little romance. Those are my 3 that came out this month. 4, The Day the Whimsy Died. There's another one. Awesome. Making demos. Hamish, look at you go. Good for you. I made one demo this month, I think, as well. I don't know. It was fun. But sometimes I just look at that mountain to climb and I just don't wanna. I don't want to do it. And I can't really... Moving across the country ain't a cheap endeavor, and I can't really shell out the couple thousand for the kind of demos that I would need otherwise. So I've got to take my time on all that jazz, as they say in the realm of I don't know what I'm saying. What else is on my mind? I don't know. I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad we're all hanging out. It's good stuff. I like not having to be in my booth to do these things. When I was, you spend too much time in there. It's nice to be out and about. Yeah, let me just share the screen here, and I'll show you all the audiobooks that are coming out. Boop. I'm not a speedy guy when it comes to managing all these windows, but I think that's okay. So in terms of bookaroonies, I've never done this on live stream, so it's kind of nerve-wracking almost. Bookaroonies coming out. This is what we're looking at, friends. Oh, wait. Hey, it worked. Nightjar, that's what I'm recording tomorrow. Very exciting. Space Ranger. That was a really fun one to do. The author, Andy Hastings, really cool guy. A very fun book. I got to do a bunch of The author wanted it to be like a radio opera from like way back when, so got to do a bunch of cool stuff there. My name was Jerry Sass, narrated with a few other really talented narrators. Really great story. I would just look it up, but if you like crime thrillers, the way it was described, or the like log line for it was oh gosh, what's it? It was like The Sopranos meets 6 Feet Under or something like that. Really fun book. My character was a priest, so it was a lot of fun. The Cowboys Game, if you're a fan of romance, really sweet. I never read romance before narrating it professionally, but come on, it's very, very fun. And then The Day Whimsy Died was another great detective mystery. This one's cool. It has like magic and music combined. Fun thing. And then the most recent after that was The Bomb Maker, a like espionage thriller kind of thing. All right, how do I get back here? Ta-da! Yeah. A class on character development. Yeah, that's a great idea, Sonia. I'm putting together right now, this is another impending release, I guess, that we could talk about, or I guess I've been talking about it a bit, but I'm releasing courses on my website, and those I'm going to package them sort of discreetly as sort of foundations to discreetly, meaning they'll be like separate things. So one for like audiobook production, one for audiobook characters, another for maybe character work in general, stuff like that. And then this company reached out to me and said that they wanted me to come on board with their flagship creators, I guess. I don't know I can't remember, but it's like an interactive app that it takes all of my coursework that I'm going to be uploading to it and working with them to structure, and you can engage with it, and it like restructures using their platform to tailor it to each person specifically and what they need to work on. So it's like a foundation thing. It's awesome. Yes, my friend, I brought it along with me. It's right there. I just don't record in it because it's more comfortable out here in the real world. Yeah, Mojo, let's do it. Anytime. Oh, yes. This book, Paul, was caught stealing. That one it came out as, I think it was last year, but it was a movie with Austin Butler that the book got turned into. Caught Stealing is the name of that book. It's a trilogy as well. Loved that book. Loved that one. What else we got? Ooh, yeah. Love it. Stalker romance. Super interesting. Hey, short film. Congrats. And good luck with the crowdfunding for it. That's going to be great. And thanks, Damien, for the well wishes on the books. They were a lot of fun to do. This week's been nice. I've had a little bit of a relaxed week, so I got to take a break. Mojo, good question. I have a Sony A7C. Is that what it is? Yep. Sony Alpha 7C. And I use a fancy lens and stuff like that. I got it when I I was really into photography many years ago. So I got it because I wanted to get back into photography. Haven't had the time yet, but yeah, I use it for all these videos, and I use it for, or I used to use it because when I was acting on camera more, particularly in New York, it was really, really helpful to have a high quality camera rather than a little webcam type thing or using just your iPhone. I prefer the look of it. Yeah. I should link that down in the description too, because you're not the first to ask, Mojo. You're not the first to ask. But yeah, I can't believe it's almost the end of May, everybody. I cannot believe it. But here we are. Life trundles on, don't she? What else? Regarding Sonia's question or thought about character development, yeah. I'm trying to think how to structure it as well. How long do I record in a day? It varies pretty significantly depending on the projects on the calendar and what types of projects they are. Audiobooks, I'll pretty much record professional audiobooks, at least ones that you're recording with a director and anyway, those ones that have like studio time blocked out rather than just, hey, turn in your audio files when you're done with them. Those have set times, and those I will be in the booth from 10 to 5, usually, taking a break usually every hour and a half. That's more often than not just like a 15-minute break after every hour and a half with one longer lunch break in the middle. Those are professional audiobooks with publishers, once again. But if it's just me and I don't have to push through, I'll just record until I'm either hot from my booth or tired. But yeah, usually my voice isn't a limiting factor anymore unless it's doing like a animation type thing. Because I struggle with animation stuff because I tend to, I don't know. It's one of those things where I do so many audiobooks that I'm used to controlling everything for audiobooks or for commercials. But animation has such range dynamically where you have to be loud, then quiet, then enclosed, then back. And some things are really cartoony and other things are pretty grounded. And I find those to be, because they're not the norm for my day-to-day, they're pretty unusual. In those instances, my voice tends to get pretty tired pretty quickly. So in those days, I'll probably record just for a couple hours. But a professional animated recording session, so if you were to be on like a Netflix show or something like that, those sessions would be 4 hours per union standards straight with a couple breaks. When starting out in narration, should you prioritize learning from other narrators or focus on your own style? Great question. And I really think that it's kind of an individual thing. I do think that if you don't have a performance background and you're just getting into audiobook narration right off of the street, it might be helpful to listen to other narrators just to get a sense of how they do things, how they're structuring things, what their pacing's like, and so that you can get ideas to experiment with. So if you listen to certain books and you like the way a narrator performs a scene, or you like the way they're doing certain voices, you can emulate that and see what works for you. the caveat with that would be I wouldn't worry about copying them because there's no real right way to do things. So like for me, as an example, I like to ride the rail a little bit more because I really don't like audiobooks when I'm listening to them when they're really buttoned up and put together in a lot of ways. I like to feel like there's a bit of a risk. The downside to that is it can result in more mistakes sometimes. But what I mean by that more specifically is if a book's being narrated and it sounds quite paced and really clean and buttoned up, rather than having sort of an emotional push-pull and a flow to things that would be more natural in a day-to-day thing, something that's more alive rather than clean and buttoned up. That's my preference, and I tend to try to push in that direction, or I tend to just naturally perform in that way. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that there's a right or wrong, but listening to other narrators is a great way to just get ideas to work from and then develop your own tools from that, I think is a good way to go about it. Yeah. Whoops. Pulling up too many windows. Man, I got sleepy. Sometimes when it crests into summer from spring, it's just that like sleepy, warm summertime thing. Do I remember my first booked gig? I don't know if this was my first gig, but it was my first larger booked gig. I got contracted to do a meditation series. It was like 8 hours of meditations. I didn't know how to do anything. Basically, I was having to learn on my feet so many things. I didn't know how to use my software well. I was using Reaper. I didn't have any of the plugins that I have now that I use day to day. And I have misophonia, meaning like mouth sounds. Wig me out. So listening to 8 hours of meditations and not knowing what I'm doing and having to like manually edit mouth clicks, I spent probably 40 plus hours on 8 hours of meditation. No, I had to have spent more than that. It was like 3 weeks of me obsessing and freaking out that I was doing everything wrong. But it was a meditation series. I couldn't even remember what it was for, but a lot of my first gigs were meditations because people, I think it has to do with the fact that I'm just a generally chill sounding person. So people, and my voice has sort of calming tonality to it, I guess. So I got pegged to do a lot of meditations as a result, which I dig. I like doing meditations. Funnily enough, with meditations, the instinct sometimes is to do like a whispery voice. Whispering is horrible for the voice. It just kills your stamina. It's really rough on the vocal cords, somewhat counterintuitively. And it's also not great in my experience for like the guiding meditation. Like in listening to a meditation, using like Headspace, for example, they're not whispering, they're speaking at a normal like vocal projection, which makes sense to me. Because you want somebody to be like in control rather than mousy and whispery, I think. That may be a personal thing, but that's how I roll in that way. But kind of cool. Also, checking in, how many of you are getting ads still? Because I don't know how ads work, and if you're getting a ton of ads and it's, I just don't know how this works. So report team, report. And my apologies if the ads are bugging you. Man, it is really funny how the brain works, where it just sort of poops out at times. My mind gets so dazed at the end of the day. But it's good to be spending this time. I really like doing these office hours with all of you every month now. And if you have interest for more of these types of live sessions, let me know. If we do, I'll probably keep them limited to the monthly office hours over the course of the summer, just for my own sanity and spare time. 'Cause it's summer, baby. We got to get outside. But as the sun wanes in the east and west, I don't know. But we can talk about dialing up more of these if that's of interest. Let me know. This is a good question. How do you develop an ear for what sounds good? He's got a naturally deep voice, and when you think you killed an audition, you don't even get shortlisted. This is coming up against a couple things. Good to know, Damien. Thank you. Reporting on the ads. I don't know how it works, and I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. Getting ads. I'll come back to you to this question because it's a good one, but getting ads, your video goes side by side with an advert. I'm muted and the adverts have sound. Weird. Okay. I don't watch live streams and I don't do live streams. So it's good to know what's going on behind the scenes there. I guess I got to watch some live streams, figure out how to do this. Develop an ear for what sounds good. So there are a couple of things here. One, having a naturally deep voice does not equal, that's kind of beside the point, I guess. That doesn't really have a bearing on anything one way or the other necessarily. And also, whether or not you get shortlisted also doesn't have a bearing on whether or not you get whether or not you're good or an audition's good or bad. It could just be that they're looking for something else more specifically than your voice. Maybe you're just not what they were looking for. So I wouldn't worry about that necessarily. But to develop an ear for what sounds good, there are a couple specific things that I do with respect to specifically commercial auditions, but they also kind of apply to everything. With commercials, I call it the, what's it called? The grocery store test. I think that's what I call it. Grocery store test, grocery shopping test. But if you're walking through the aisles of a grocery store, right? Sometimes, often, there is music or a radio station playing, right? And if an ad pops on, sometimes if you're walking through the aisle with your shopping list, sometimes when the ad pops on, you'll find yourself, listening to that ad. And there may be a moment where your attention drifts from that ad back to your grocery list or back to the aisles, or maybe you stay and listen to the full ad. So the grocery store test is take off your actor hat, put on your listener hat, your grocery store hat, and listen to your spot objectively. Don't try to pick apart the minutia. Just listen to it as you're walking through a grocery store. And if there's a point where your performance or your attention flags away from the spot, then that's a point of friction for you. That's a place where you can sort of say, oh, you know what? Maybe I can adjust that to capture attention more, or tell the story in a more engaging way to keep this stuff rolling along. So the grocery store test is helpful in that respect, and in particular with the first like 3 seconds of your read. If you hit play on, this is particularly useful if you listen to your archived auditions. So if you've got a bank of where you keep all your auditions that you've been uploading, go back a month, 2 months, a year, more, and just listen through to some of your work and follow the grocery store test. Because you have that distance and time from your auditions and your work, you're no longer listening to it with the like, maybe I'll get this job, maybe I won't. At this point, you've either booked it or you haven't. And so you can go back through your archives and just play, ooh, that's terrible. Why did I think that was good? Or if you press play and you find yourself leaning in like, oh, what is this ad? Some of the ads that I've done in recent years or auditions, I'll do that. I'll go back and listen to them, and I'll have a moment where somewhat pridefully, I'll be like, wow. And I'll forget that it was me that recorded it at times. And that's when you know I did something really cool. So the grocery store test is really helpful. The other thing in terms of what sounds good, this takes just a little bit of trial by fire, trial and error type stuff, but just getting an intuition for what it feels like when you are rooted in the story. So for audiobooks in particular, this is helpful for me. If I don't concern myself with how I sound necessarily, in those auditions, I focus on the aspect of the story, the arc of the thing, how the characters are behaving and speaking, the world that they inhabit. And if I feel in myself like, oh man, I'm really in the pocket, I'm reading the story really, really, I'm in the story rather than performing it or thinking about how I'm sounding. That's kind of how I guide myself. So the grocery store test, listening back to your work, and also listening to ads on the radio. This is why I don't pay for YouTube Premium, even though sometimes I kind of want to. Is I'll listen to the ads that come on, because a lot of them will be ones that I've auditioned for at some point or another, and I'll hear what they went with relative to what I did. And sometimes it's like, oh, they just wanted a different type of voice for it, or they'll have said like it could have been, they could have cast me and they just didn't for whatever reason. I didn't know this. I don't know if it's true, but if it is true, I love it, Mojo. Become a booth buddy and you get ad free. I'll definitely turn that on if it's not. Yeah, I should definitely have that on. Ad happened once earlier for me. Okay. Yeah. You got to know about that bathtub renovation. That's when I think of things that are valuable to the voiceover and audiobook narration community, it's bathtub renovation, you know? That's it, straight up. Anyhow. Yes, my friend. So happy to lay it out. Happy to lay it out. Oh, I had a question for one of you, actually. Yeah, it was Mojo. You do a lot of math at your 9 to 5. What's your 9 to 5, if we may ask? Incidentally, when I was looking at schools for my undergrad, I wanted to get an engineering degree as well as an acting degree. So all of the schools that I applied to had huge engineering departments and reputable performing arts departments as well. I found out very quickly that those two degrees don't have a lot of overlap, making it quite difficult to Tackle them both simultaneously. A metrology engineer. Interesting. Oh, sick. Wow, metrology. That's a cool thing. A specialist in the science of measurement, determining exactly how parts, products, and processes are verified. Well, listen, audio, I feel like that's a good space for that. Well, thank you for the nice hat. I think I got this at a thrift store for like $3. It's a little lopsided though. It's a good one. It's a good little hat. Keeps the ghosts inside. I don't know what that means. Keeps the ghosts inside? What the hell am I talking about? I don't know. Yeah, it'd be cool if the ads were about meditation or something. I was able to, at one point or another, I don't know how many of you are YouTubers in your spare time, but I was able to say, don't play these types of ads. I can't even remember what I put, but it was, I told them not to put some certain things on there. Don't put some certain things on there. Well, my friends, any more questions? Any more wins? I know we've got a few new folks rolling in. If you've got wins from the month, I'd love to hear. If you had anything special happen, and this can be audio related, it can be life related. I got myself these cool binoculars that I'm pretty stoked on. I went to the beach with my family for Mother's Day, one of the perks of living nearby family now. And I got to see some whales. Saw probably like 20 whales. It was crazy. Posting audiobooks to YouTube to get started or getting work out there. You could. I don't know how well that would funnel into legit audiobook work. I would think that ACX or Ahab Talent would be better, funnels into more professional work. But there's nothing wrong. I mean, I put audiobooks here on YouTube, so nothing wrong with it. And it would definitely be a good place for practice. I just don't know how helpful it is to getting things rolling in earnest. So can't hurt. But yeah. Woo! Max finished their first audiobook halfway through the 10 finish. Your first audiobook and you're halfway through. Let's go. That's awesome. Hey man. Commercial, it happens after a time. Okay. Beginning the contract process for VO jobs for first-time work. Is it best to go through a VO platform or independent? Great question. And I think it depends on how the person found you. If they contacted you directly, you can ask how your client would like to handle the contract. So that's one way you can approach it. Ask if they would prefer to handle it via a platform like Voice123, Upwork, Voices.com, something like that. The downside to that for clients is often they have to pay some sort of platform fee. So that might be a point of friction, and or there may be a cut coming out of your end, like with Voices.com, they're going to take 20% of what you charge the client. But in exchange for contract management, protections against any sort of arbitration or course of the project, some of that may be worth the fee that you pay. So you could go there. However, there's nothing wrong with asking clients to sign a contract. I have contract templates that I use where I just ask folks, hey, here's the contract. I'll fill in the details for them. Like, here's where our... so the flow for that would be, we'll have an email conversation. Emails do act as a paper trail. So if you're having a conversation with a client, those can help if you end up in a dispute later. So you can say, hey, in this email cited here, we came to terms on the amount to be paid and that hasn't been lived up, whatever. So you can use emails as that sort of paper trail for yourself. And then if you codify that in a signed document, so I have a contract template where I'll describe the project, the scope of the terms, how long it's going to be used, what kind of usage it's licensed for, and the compensation, as well as any revision contingencies built in there, and renewal type stuff. So all of that built into a written contract can be helpful, and then having the client sign that. That said, in a lot of things that I've done, many of my clients will acknowledge or say that they're fine with our email exchange acting as a binding agreement. The only thing that you'll want to do, or that I would recommend, and of course, all of this, I'm not a lawyer, so, do your due diligence, but a lot of the clients that I work with will say that they're comfortable and fine using our email exchange as an agreement to terms. So if they've acknowledged that, then it's all there in writing. And if the payment terms are written in the email as well as the terms of usage, then you're pretty much that's been fine for me in the past. So those would be two ways to go about it. And then Craig here is asking if reading the fine print. In terms of fine print, the only things that I get really litigious about these days are AI protections. If a client doesn't have a clause in the contract that either they provide, or if they're unwilling to sign a contract that I provide that prevents them from using my audio files to train or to sell as data training for an AI. That kind of thing I make sure is there. Beyond that, having just making sure that the usage is really tight and there's nothing that falls into play. But a lot of like NAVA, the National Association for Voice Artists, I think is what it is. I always forget what the acronym is because I just call it NAVA all the time. But they have a lot of resources in their organization for writing out contracts and things like that. So that can be helpful. So all to say with this question, whatever you're most comfortable with is fine, and whatever makes you feel most secure moving forward, as well as what the client is most comfortable doing or handling things with. So, Mojo, I'm looking at getting a telescope. Damien, enjoy your dinner. Have a great rest of your week. Max, I do have a Discord, but the issue with it is I just don't check it. So I think if there was broader interest in the Discord and we found it helpful, channel members to this, the Booth Buddies, if you're joining up with that, you do have access to the Discord. And if we start to get more interest in it, then, we can definitely set that up. I am also planning on, outside of the Booth Buddies, starting, wow, windy outside. I'm going to be starting a community thing on my website where I plan on doing like webinars and things like that. little things that we can kind of have group sessions and stuff like that. Yeah. So if that answers your question, but if people do have an interest in the Discord, I'll check in on it more. But I started it and like 3 people engaged with it for a time, and I just didn't have the bandwidth for it. So we'll see. How do I stay organized with all the contracts? I use, so I have the full like Adobe Creative Suite, and within that, the Adobe Acrobat, the PDF reader and editor, it has a fill and sign function there. So if I'm doing the contracts with that, all of them are automatically saved and categorized in that. But I also have a folder where I'll download any contracts for agreements that I work on that are necessary or pertinent. I don't really worry about it for audiobooks typically, because those tend to be one-time transactions. But for commercial stuff or corporate stuff that may have renewals, I'll keep those on file so that I have that to, call back on. Those are just in a file on my desktop, or not on my desktop, but on my computer, and they're broken into years. So I'll have just like big parent folder, contracts, and then 2026, 2025, et cetera, and they're all just kind of lumped in there. I also use Notion I'm going to make a video on it because I've been using it a lot and been finding it really, really helpful. I use Notion to track projects and make sure that everything's flowing through the process well. And that naturally acts as sort of a tracking mechanism for things. So I can refer back to it. I can save emails to it and things like that. I'll walk through that in a video to come, I suppose. Question on turnaround time. A 9-hour audiobook that took 4 weeks to make. Would that be considered unacceptable, or should you prioritize speeding that process up? It depends. So if you weren't under a timeline or a deadline crunch, you can take as much time as you need to do it. There are times when you'll need to do a quick turnover, and there are times when it's just not possible. So unacceptable is probably a strong word. A 9-hour audiobook for 4 weeks. If you're starting with like prep, so at the beginning of that 4 weeks, I started reading the book and I had to read the full 9 hours, and I took a lot of time, highlighting things and circling things. Then 4 weeks might be just what it takes. For me, a 9-hour audiobook would be 1 week, probably, because that's all I do. I'm not having to balance a second job. I just block out the recording time and make it, I do it there. I also work with a proofing team. So I upload my audio files to Positron and I send that to my proofer. They go through everything so that I don't have to go through and edit or make sure that all my pickups are marked. And then I go in and do the recording for the pickups. So I do have a streamlined bit of workflow there. But to your question, there is room for improvement, of course. Speed isn't everything. A maximum in audiobooks tends to be slow is fast and fast is slow. So there's no shame in taking the time that you need to do it. But being able to go through things quickly could be a selling point if, say, because I have had publishers, like I had, they ended up not needing me to do it, but a narrator dropped out of an Audible project and they needed it done ASAP because the publication deadline was coming up, and it was like a 15-hour audiobook. So that comes with a bunch of built-in restrictions and limitations to it, where I've got 2 weeks to pump this thing out, so I need to make it happen, and I might need to cut corners to make that function the way that they want. So there are caveats there, but I'm able to turn it around in 2 weeks and was able to confidently say, yeah, I can do that for you. We may just need to, things that would speed up your process. Ultimately, I think a lot of it's practice. A lot of it is confidence in your sight reading ability. That helped me a lot, just getting comfortable flowing with things, kind of falling through the book rather than feeling like it all needs to go, anyway, let me know if that answers your question, Will, and don't feel pressured to crunch things out in a specific amount of time. You can't hear the wind. Well, I'm sorry. Maybe we should get a wind cam outside. Part of it, there's no noise processing. Part of it's just that I'm talking over it, so you probably just can't hear it. And it's just like random gusts. This is also just not a super sensitive microphone, so if I stop talking for a bit, we might be able to hear it. Maybe we can hear it now. I don't know if we can hear it or not. But yeah, no real processing. I do think I have a little bit of compression just to make sure that I don't blast the audio out and that it's at kind of a consistent listening level, but that's it. Just a little bit of compression. Oh, yeah. If your voice is the limiting factor, then that's something that you can easily spend the time to invest in. And that's really valuable to spend the time on. Because, for example, a 9-hour audiobook, if you were to record it with Penguin Random House, that would be recorded over 2 studio days where you're just ripping, baby. You just go. So having stamina is really valuable if you plan to go further. So yeah, I would look at voice and speech training. And again, I swear I'm not trying to plug this. I'm just excited about it because I've been spending so much time working on it. But I do have that app thing that I'm coming up with, which will have, I hope, the functionality to build yourself and engage with like a full like vocal training like arc. It's going to be built in with a bunch of other training things. I hope. We're cranking through it, but yeah. Yeah, we'll add the wind in post, Craig. We'll add the wind in post. It's pretty good wind. All right. Random question. Currently have a stack micro that an engineer helped with. For this, what is the way to do it? So the way I approach all of my vocal processing stacks is the stuff that I treat it like a Brita filter, where the stuff that removes the things that we don't want, so noise reduction, subtractive EQ, declickers, de-essers, kind of. I put all that stuff first so that the things down the line are working with less, because if you put things that are there to like gussy up your voice or make it sound better, like if you're adding a compressor, for example, if you put that first, it's going to be factoring in all of the things that you don't necessarily want in your end recording anyway. So if I put a compressor first, but I've got like a bunch of low end, so I've got, I haven't put my high pass on yet, the compressor is going to be responding to frequencies that aren't even going to end up in my recording at the end of the day. So I prefer to put it after the fact. I don't want to dissuade people from working with engineers to build effect stacks, but my opinion on that is it's better to take the time, assuming, well, okay, two things. One, if you have any technical facility and you're interested in learning about the technical side of things, I think it's far more valuable to just put a little bit of work into learning how to use EQ and compression and gating and all those simple effects to put in your effect stack, signal chain, whatever. Because then if any aspects of your recording setup change, if you get a new microphone, if you get a new booth, if you move, if your microphone is in a different angle, if you go on the road and you're in a different recording space, any of those factors will change how your whole recording signal chain works. So if you pay an engineer to set up your signal chain, it's limited to a very specific scenario and a very specific use case. Even so, if they set that up and there's compression in it, and I change the volume of my speech or the gain of my microphone, that may in turn affect how I approach the compression in that signal chain, which all to say, I feel that it's just better for you to know how to manipulate those things on your own. Or have an engineer give you like a good starting blueprint to then tweak from. That said, if you don't have the technical acumen and you have no interest in it, then totally fine to just pay an engineer and have them help you out. There's no shame in that, and a lot of engineers can be quite helpful. The thing that I struggle with engineers who do that occasionally is I sometimes feel like they overcharge for the service. And yeah, I don't know what goes into some of their workflows with that respect, but and no shade to them necessarily, but it's not something that I use personally. So for what it's worth, well, my friends, we're coming to the end of office hours, but if you have any final questions, pop them in, and we'll hang out for a spadoodle here. Yes, that aha moment with parametric EQ, my friend. Can't wait. Yeah, it's a fun little thing to doodle around with. And less is more with processing chains in general. Less is more. Worst case scenario, just throw on a high pass filter, set it and forget it, baby. If I didn't answer this, Paul, when you do get isotope, yeah, I would put the mouth declicker first and call it a day. I wouldn't put much more in there. Yeah, the technical words are definitely a deal. Yeah. Hopefully I can teach them in a way that's accessible, though. That's my goal, at least. Yeah. But no shame, Paul. Feel free to hire an engineer, but you can also just toss the declicker first up and call it a day. Well, my friends, last call for any questions, and then I'm going to go eat some dinner. Woo! Woo! Dinner time. Let's go. Anyway, of course, Princess and the P, anytime. Between now and the next office hours or the next office videos, you can submit your samples down below. As Mojo said, if you join the Booth Buddies, you don't get stinking ads on this stuff. So if that's of interest, you can check it out, but no pressure. What else? Oh, and then there's a form down below if you have questions that didn't get answered in this office hours, or if you missed it, you can queue it up for the next one and we'll rifle through them. The form for that's down below. You can hit that up anytime. Anyway, thanks for being here, everybody. This was a lot of fun, and I'll see you next month. Well, I'll see you between now and then, but we'll be back next month with another office hours. And until then, you know what I'm going to say? Be well, and I'll see you there. Toodles. And this isn't going to do anything because I have to go back over here now and click the finish stream button, but hey, it's a habit. Anyway, bye everybody. Have a great rest of your week.